What's cracking, Patreon family? It's your baby mama's favorite cousin Taw, and today we have a banger for you. Today we are going to break down, she's a fun crush to have, right? Why Brittany Renner needs a player in her life. Now, of course, we're going to break this down hot house style. How does she line up on a potential roster? And ultimately, what would a player macro OG need to do in order to put her in the best position to win? So the first thing that I want to do is go through the 3 feature composite. Now, this comes directly from the Miss Universe pageant competition. So formally, this is a formal sort of way of observing a woman's beauty. So here we have the 3 feature composite for our case study today. And that aside, of course, I'm going to come to a point in the conversation where I give her a hot house score, which would, of course, include her octane level. Shout out to the master teacher, BGS Idmore, her octane level, what I see as her female group hierarchy level or her Fae level, and ultimately her SMV. I think you'll be pleased, and some may be surprised with what the final scores look like. But before that, let's get into a few attributes, and let's really draw a composite of who we are discussing today. Now, Brittany Renner's online presence began in the early to mid 2010s. And there was a post that she made of her and Colin Kaepernick that we can say was that moment that started her adventure, right? Or her path to online fame. And the dynamic with Colin Kaepernick is important because it is integral into her relationship arc. You see, when we look at the dynamic between her and Colin Kaepernick, through the lens of foundational game, it's apparent that he imprinted her. You see, she was in her early 20s when she first started flying herself out to see him at his request. It was his idea that she show how serious she was by purchasing her own plane tickets, right? Now, what happened in terms of how, that was made up or, compensated or whatever, that was never discussed in this story arc. Okay. But ultimately we can say this: Colin Kaepernick, without a shadow of a doubt, imprinted what I refer to as the destination onto her. He gave her a sense of what the destination feels like. And as we cover the other notable relationships that she has found herself in over the history leading up to this moment, we can see that those subsequent relationships have been attempts at her getting back to what she recognizes as the destination. Now, PJ Washington is an interesting case study because she actually would visit his games during his time at Kentucky. And over that period of time, let's be honest, I've had conversations online about this dynamic before. She wanted to make sure that she had control over this dynamic. Coming from the dynamic in which she did not have control, she was under the stewardship of Colin Kaepernick's discretion, and she had to cooperate with his operation. And so the dynamic that she developed with PJ Washington was one in which she was in charge. She was the one that influenced the dynamic between she and PJ Washington, ultimately landing her child, you see, minus the ring. Got to the point in which she was there. She was in his house, the mansion. She had luxury vehicles, access to whatever services she and the baby needed. All she had to do was be an NBA wife and understood what came with that. And at some point, she determined that that was not something that she aligned with. And so she blew it up. She blew up the dynamic, and she and PJ Washington were no longer a thing. So she goes from an older man to a significantly younger man. And so, like I said, she had a taste for the feel of what the destination was like. A man who was in control, a man who gave her instructions. She went from that dynamic to the dynamic where she was the one giving instructions. She was the one influencing the dynamic. And ultimately, she revealed that she needed stewardship. She revealed that even though she got exactly what she wanted or stated that she wanted, being in the position of relationship lead was not a fit for her, as it is for the vast majority of women. When they started their liaisons, Kevin Gates was already married. And so this picture, the statement that was made by this gentleman underneath, I think is very appropriate. Because you know what our position within Foundational Game is for the PYT dynamic. We don't date PYTs. We mentor PYTs. Now, obviously, in this dynamic, they had their own sort of arrangement in terms of how they interacted with each other. And it's quite apparent that before engaging in intimate contact, there was a marriage. There was a spiritual marriage under the rules of the Islamic faith. A marriage that she is quoted as stating lasted 52 days. So do with that what you will. The dynamic ultimately ended in a dissolution. So that, again, did not live up to the feeling of the destination that was set by Colin Kaepernick. She came across this gentleman right here who refers to himself as Director X17. Relatively shortly after they're getting together and posting videos of ski trips and adventures into the wilderness, he stated that she was going to be his wife. Interesting. Let's just be honest. A woman of Brittany Renner's capacity, her energy is infectious. Her ability to be a temptress is at a high level. And so, of course, Director X17 wanted to wife that up. And ultimately, that relationship fell to the wayside as well. When we look at who she is and how she is moving, she is back to her old self. She's hosting parties, which, of course, I can definitely appreciate that. As a former party promoter myself, I can appreciate booking talent of her caliber to show up and to be a hostess, to be the life of the party, to bring energy, to bring beauty, to bring the bright lights of the celebrity effect with her. But let's be honest. Here's why Brittany Renner needs a player in her life. And actually, not just a player, she needs a Mac. All right? A Mac is the level of player that manages, has management skills in terms of a team or a dynamic that puts the woman/women in his life in the best position within the team to flourish based on her talents. But let's take it even further. The reason why she has this restlessness in her spirit that only a player would be able to suffice is because she hasn't been whole since the fantasy of Colin Kaepernick was dissolved by the reality of her true position in his life. Colin Kaepernick is of a significantly different energy band. when we talk about a person such as Colin Kaepernick, we have to look at what the destination chooses as his counterpart. And of course, that is the demonstration, right? And Colin's relationship with his now wife and mother of his son, Nisa, is just that. Nisa is the ideal demonstration of Colin's stature. It's not something that can be put on and taken off at will, like a cocktail dress or even a hijab when you feel like it. Now, this is no shade, obviously, for someone who's been on a path of discovery. No shade whatsoever. But when we talk about the frequency bandwidth that Colin Kaepernick and his wife Nisa operate at, it is a significantly different frequency, you see? And it is far removed from the spectacle of an entertainment red carpet. And so that being said, let us provide the Hot House score for one Miss Brittany Renner. Starting off with her octane. Gentlemen, I know it's getting good. This is the best part. And guess what? We have saved the best part for the Patreon side. And even once you're there, make sure that you upgrade to the high level of the Patreon. You will not be disappointed, and you will receive an abundance of information, tools, systems, structures, and the skill sets of that much coveted power, the power of seduction. As always, this is your man, Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying, stay sharp and mission focused. Later.